A major debut rocks All Elite Wrestling, and who left Dynamite Grand Slam as AEW World Champion. But first, CM Punk is not expected to return to AEW. Early this month, a brawl would break out following the AEW All Out pay-per-view, with EVP's Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks entering the locker room of CM Punk to confront him over comments he made at the post-show media scrum. This would lead to the majority of names in the room being suspended, including the Bucks, Omega, Michael Nakazawa, Pat Buck, Christopher Daniels and Brandon Cutler, with Punk and Ace Steel's jobs up in the air. Punk would also be stripped of his AEW World title, which was expected due to him suffering an injury in his match earlier in the night, with the Elite being stripped of the Trios Championships. For now, all names not directly involved in the fight itself are now unsuspended, with Ace Steel, CM Punk, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks still under suspension, with all 5 men not being mentioned on AEW television since. Last night on PW Torch's post-Dynamite VIP audio show, Wade Keller would discuss CM Punk's future in All Elite Wrestling, with him pointing out how Punk's name was excluded from big names that had held the ROH World title, with commentary mentioning Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson. He would then go on to discuss the future of Punk in AEW, and he said that he expects some kind of buyout of the former AEW and ROH World Champions contract, with him saying, "I think this is noteworthy but not surprising that he excluded CM Punk's name, as he talked about some of the biggest names who have held the title. That's a bit of a tell. As I talked with Jason Powell yesterday about, I am not expecting CM Punk to wrestle in AEW again. I'm not saying it's 100% sure thing, but everything is pointing in the direction of some sort of buyout of his contract. We'll learn more eventually about that situation." With the CM Punk situation, it seems to be a case of wait and see, with it possible that time could heal all wounds, both physically and metaphorically, with many hoping that the backstage drama can be turned into a money-drawing angle. For now though, this does seem unlikely, with an official update expected in the near future. And next, AEW held yet another talent meeting last night. With all the reported backstage turmoil over recent months, AEW management have held multiple talent meetings to clear the air and steady the ship. Before we get into last night's show itself, let's take a look at what happened before the in-ring action got underway. According to Fightful Select, another meeting was held ahead of the huge Grand Slam show, which is said to have been received very positively, with it serving as a pep talk for the roster ahead of a major show. Fightful would add that all of the post-all-out talent meetings have resonated well with the roster and staff, this according to sources within the company. In previous meetings, it's been known that Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley have led the charge, 2 of which are AEW originals, with all 3 of them being locker room leaders. A longtime talent is said to have informed Fightful of a much more laid-back feeling backstage as of late, compared to how things were leading into All Out. Another veteran claimed that the locker room has been, quote, the best over the past 3 tapings than it's been in quite some time. One of Fightful sources used the term addition by subtraction, without specifically saying what they meant by that, although this appears to mean that the removal of certain individuals has helped the backstage situation in the company. Whilst there is no word on who spoke at the talent meeting last night or what was said, we can likely expect an update on this in the coming hours. It seems that despite ongoing backstage drama for several months at this point, things are beginning to get back to the positive atmosphere that AEW was once known for during its early days. And next, new champions have been crowned in AEW. Last night, AEW would present Grand Slam from the Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, where a live edition of Dynamite would air, with a 2-hour pre-taped edition of Rampage taking place after the fact. Whilst we won't be discussing any spoilers for Rampage, let's run down what happened on Dynamite, where new champions were crowned and a big debut took place. The show would kick off with a match for the ROH World Championship, with Claudio Castagnoli battling the first ever AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, with the ROH title on the line. In a candidate for Match of the Night, something you can vote for on our community page if you fancy it, it was Chris Jericho that walked away with the title, this following a kick to the groin followed by a Judas effect, pinning the Swiss Superman in 15 minutes. Jericho would then celebrate with his Appreciation Society on the ramp. With this victory, the self-proclaimed Wizard is now an 8-time world champion in wrestling, adding to his WWE, WWE World Heavyweight, WCW and AEW world title belts that currently sit in his trophy cabinet. This wasn't the only title change, however, as the next match on the card would see Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, collectively known as Swerve in Our Glory, putting their AEW World Tag Team titles on the line against the Acclaimed. This was of course a rematch from their AEW All Out match just over 2 weeks ago, where Swerve and Lee would walk away with the win despite the crowd fully being behind Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. With that said, Long Island's own Caster and New York-raised Bowens would this time manage to overcome the odds, with Max striking Strickland with a mic drop from the top rope for the 1-2-3. The AEW World Tag Team titles are the first belts that the duo have held together in their career, nearly 2 years after first teaming together on AEW Dark in October 2020. Of course, one more new champion would be crowned later in the night, with the vacant AEW World Championship being on the line in the main event, but we'll come to that one a little bit later on, so stick around. And next, a major debut rocks All Elite Wrestling. Elsewhere on Dynamite Grand Slam, the interim AEW Women's World Championship would be up for grabs, with former AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker, former NXT Women's Champion Athena, and former NWA Women's World Champion Serena Deeb having the opportunity to dethrone Toni Storm in four-way action. With that said, it was the champion that walked away as still champion, with Storm catching Baker with a roll-up for the pinfall win. This would then lead to an uneven post-match beatdown, with Serena, Britt, and Jamie Hayter, who was at ringside, beating down both Storm and Athena, with the heels standing tall. The Doctor would then throw Athena out of the ring before pulling out her dentist glove, ready to lock Toni in the lockjaw, this before brand new entrance music hit, causing them to hold their horses. The word Saraya would then appear on the entranceway, leading to a thunderous pop from the AEW fans, before the former Paige would make her way down to the ring. Baker and crew would then retreat and Saraya took in the reaction before calling for both Athena and Storm to join her back in the ring to end the segment. This is the first time Saraya has been seen in a wrestling ring since being sprayed with mist by Asuka on an episode of Monday Night Raw in October 2019, ending her run as the manager of the Kabuki Warriors. She would then disappear from WWE television until she began to appear on the panel for WWE Backstage on FS1, which premiered just days later. Of course, all of this followed her retirement from in-ring action in April 2018, citing neck injuries as the reason for her stepping away. She hasn't wrestled since, although she's worked towards getting healthy enough to do so, publicly declaring her intentions multiple times, using Bryan Danielson and Edge's unlikely returns as inspiration. Saraya has been a free agent ever since her WWE contract expired on July 7th, 2022, with AEW President Tony Khan taking to Twitter to confirm that she is officially All Elite. It hasn't been confirmed if Saraya will be working matches in AEW just yet, with it worth noting that she wasn't involved in anything physical during her debut, so we're going to have to wait for more on the situation as it plays out over the coming weeks and days. Whilst it seems like she has been around forever at this point, it's worth remembering that Saraya is still only 30 years old, and if she is cleared to wrestle again, her prime years are still yet to come. She not only adds talent to the AEW women's division, but her star power takes it to a whole new level. But what do you make of All Elite Wrestling's newest signing? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, who left Dynamite Grand Slam as AEW World Champion? The main event of Dynamite Grand Slam would pit two Blackpool Combat Club members against each other, with the finals of the Grand Slam Tournament of Champions seeing Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley fight for the vacant AEW World Championship. Leading into the match, Moxley would have to go through Sammy Guevara in the semi-finals, having received a bye in the first round. As for Danielson, he would wrestle in the first round where he defeated Hangman Page, before beating Chris Jericho for a spot in the final. During last night's main event, the Casino Ladder Match winner and poker chip holder MJF could be seen in the stands watching over, with him having the right to an AEW World title match anytime he likes, with him teasing a cash-in leading into the show. With that said, after almost 3 weeks without a world champion in AEW, it was Jon Moxley who managed to solidify himself as the top dog in AEW, locking his teammate in a bulldog choke, becoming a 3-time AEW World Champion in the process, and a 4-time World Champion overall when you take into account his WWE Championship reign. Mox would become the second ever AEW World Champion back in February 2020, defeating Chris Jericho at AEW Revolution, with his impressive 277-day reign coming to an end at Dynamite Winter is Coming that year, where he lost to Kenny Omega. His second reign would then begin less than a month ago, when he would turn his interim reign into an official reign when he won the undisputed title match with then World Champion CM Punk on an episode of Dynamite leading into the All Out sold-out pay-per-view in just 3 minutes. Of course, he would lose the belt 2 weeks later at All Out in a rematch with Punk, with the title later being vacated due to the real-life backstage incident after the show. Jon Moxley's third reign now begins in New York City, although with MJF lurking in the shadows, it begs the question if this could be yet another short reign for the current face of All Elite Wrestling. But what do you expect for the future of the AEW World Championship? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 wrestlers you forgot wrestled in AEW.